Do you like films about Vikings? Oh, you do? You do? Do you like films about space monsters? Yeah, you do. Do you like films about Vikings fighting space monsters? Oh, of course. Then you've come to the right place. It's a very limited genre, I'll give you that. But there is one notable example. 2008's Outlander. No, nothing to do with the TV show about time-travelling Scotsmen and kilts and all that. Speaking of which, alright, it's the Royal Stewart today. It's one of those days. It's all snowy, blizzardy out there, so a nice bit of vivid colour. Put us all in a good mood. And I'm not thinking about Children of the Corn with that guy Caleb going, Outlander! No, this is a monster creature feature, historical sci-fi action epic from a director who I bet you don't know his name, and I've forgotten it as well. It is Howard McCain. Yeah, hasn't done much before it, hasn't done much afterwards, which is sad because this is a guy that clearly, this was a labour of love for him. It's a genre mashup, of course, but he wrote it, conceived it back in the mid-90s, and it took him all that time to get the film made with the bankrolling of, sadly, Harvey Weinstein. Oops-a-daisy. But the film comes out, and it stars Jim Jesus Christ Caviezel as an alien humanoid who crash lands to Earth in Norway in the 7th century, ruled by warring Viking factions. On one hand, that hand there, you've got John Hurt, the great John Hurt, as King Hrothgar, ruling the hamlet, the town, the province of Heret. And then somewhere out in the woods, you've got Gunnar, played by Ron Perlman. Oh yes, Ron Perlman. And these guys are at loggerheads. They want kingship of the entire area, obviously. And there's always trouble from other Viking raiders and the Rus Vikings and the Franks and all this. Oh, it's all in there. And then into the mix, you get a spaceman and his stowaway monster. For that is what's happened. Kanan, Jim Caviezel, crash lands in a big lake. His ship sinks. He manages to get up to the side with his captain, who's dead. Big piece of metal's gone into him. And their metal is very good, apparently. We'll find that out later on. So, nice little burial in the loch for his captain. And then, where am I? Right, what's happened? He's got this great gizmo, which he opens it up, puts it on a rocky promontory, puts his eyeball into it, like that, and it drills into him all the folklore, language, the people, the environment, the history, everything about the area he's now found himself in, having crash landed there. And it turns out, we're told this right away, that it's a colony, Earth, which has been seeded by his people already. It's a colony that they've put there in place and then kind of forgot about it. They do this. They seed other planets elsewhere. We don't learn too much about why they do these things. We learn some of his past and like what his people got up to. But in the great big cosmos, we don't get told a great deal about why they do these things. But he's there anyway. And he learns the lingo. In his opening scenes, you hear a lot of like foreign language. And apparently, it is genuinely Old Norse. Some professors somewhere said, this is how they spoke. This is the words they came up with. It's Old Norse. But the first word that we actually hear Jim Caviezel speak, after this mind implosion, big implants, it obviously hurts to get all this information download. He breaks away from it like, and then throws up blood, and then it goes, fuck. The director has said, well, because there's no more swearing in the movie. He just said, well, it was just fun to have Jim Caviezel swear, drop the F-bomb, bit of a laugh, bit of fun. Okay, whatever you say. And he will then go off with his space-age ray gun blaster weapon, and which he will lose very quickly, because he senses something else is out there. Right, I've got to get me bearings for one thing, but I can smell something familiar, something that smells like death. He doesn't say this, but we will learn this anyway. and he'll go through the woods and he'll stumble across a blighted village. Corpses, wreckage, burnt homesteads and hovels. Shuts a door on an ashen, barren wasteland, and there's all scratch marks in that door. I know what did this. And what did it? Yes, space monster. A Morwen. A Morwen, right? He knows what they are. He knows what they're capable of. And oh shit, I've brought one with me. I'm now trapped on this planet with one of them, my arch enemy. Oh, I should say, he has set off like a rescue beacon on this little stupid promontory thing. So a rescue ship from his people should be coming along anytime soon. But as he's investigating the wreckage of this village, a horseman comes out of nowhere and knocks him into the trees, and his gun goes flying off before it's even been any good to him whatsoever, and disappears down a waterfall and is gone, lost forever. And he's captured by Wulfric. Wulfric played by Jack Huston. Jack Huston from the huge acting dynasty, which includes John Huston and of course Angelica Huston. Wow, that's some pedigree there. And he clearly thinks that he's Éomer from Lord of the Rings. He's part Rohirrim, part Viking. And he's chewing the scenery and having a right old time of it, as is everybody except Jim Caviezel. But we'll get on to that. And he gets knocked out, does our spaceman, whose name is Kanan. Kanan! I'll tell you. He gets strapped to a travois, and that's a sort of a stretcher type thing behind a horse, and carted back to Wulfric's village of Heret, where the king there is John Hurt. John Hurt with like long rangy grey hair and a braided beard, and looking really good, to be honest. And John Hurt, who of course now meets a guy called Kanan. John Hurt played Cain in Alien, and he himself gave birth to a space monster alien. Everything moves in connections, doesn't it? Everything's linked to everything else. John Hurt said he was on holiday, I think, with his wife, and he got sent the script for this, and he looked at the premise, like Vikings and a spaceman versus an alien monster, and he went, bloody hell, what am I going to do with that? But then he got into it, read the script. His wife said, come on, could be worth it, have a go. And he saw the fun side of all this, swinging swords around and having a long shaggy wig on, speaking in oldie language, and yeah, he enjoyed himself. So Kanan gets dragged in. They nick his boots because he's dressed strangely. He's took his big sort of anime style flight suit off, which has one of those ridiculous sort of helmets where it's all CG and it goes and folds back in on itself and looks really unconvincing. And he strips down to like his flight pants and his big silly boots, and big clunky things they are, which some enterprising Viking manages to prise off him and run around. Hey, I've got his boots. I got the blood badge boots. And but he's down to his vest, and it's a really freaky looking thing, this vest. It's got all alien sort of design work on it, and like kind of like a name tag on one side, but it's all written in alien speak, and it doesn't look very good, I'll be honest. And Jim Caviezel has clearly, well, they all say that he worked out for hours before shooting began. Every morning he'd be in the gym, and well, let's just be honest, it doesn't really show. Jim Caviezel's quite tall and very lean, and he's not a muscular dude at all. And it didn't have to be, you know, he's not playing Conan the Barbarian, you know, he's playing a spaceman. But a spaceman is quite tough as well and resourceful and can fight. But, you know, people learn quickly, don't they? Well, he had the big Matrix-style download, didn't he? Suddenly he knows HEMA, historical European martial arts, and he's great with a sword. And he can battle big Viking hairy-arsed bruisers. He gets interrogated. Like, what are you here for? They think that he was part of whatever wiped out that village. And that village is their rival gunner, of course, Ron Perlman, who with his warring troops is off doing warring, raiding stuff elsewhere. But when he comes back, he won't be happy. and he'll think it's us that did it, and he'll wage war on us. Which of course he will. So Cain's gone, no, I didn't do that. He can now speak their language. So, you know, he's got that down, he knows everything. And I'm like, well, what were you doing there? I was hunting. What were you hunting? And he points to, like, they've got like an emblem, you know, a crafted, you know, forged, great big sort of totemic emblem of just one of them. They go, what? You were hunting dragons? Now, this is a bit of a weird moment because whatever that is, if that's a Morwen, the Vikings don't know about a Morwen until now, but Kanan knows all about them. So he's just made the connection. You fear dragons. Well, this thing is, well, in your terminology, it's basically a dragon. We'll talk more about the Morwen. And I don't believe a word he's saying. And he gets a few shock knocks, kicked about a bit. We will also meet Freya, played by Sophia Myles. I'm going to say right now. Well, in a minute. Let me just have some of this. Cheers, y'all. This film falls into the camp of guilty pleasure. It is not a good film, but it is a fun movie. But it's fun because you can take the piss out of it. The action when you get it is reasonable. The effects are reasonable, but it's so daft and so generic and so on the nose. But yeah, that's all acceptable. But what really goes against it is monumental miscasting. And the miscasting is, sadly, our two leads, our leading man and our leading lady. Jim Caviezel gets roles in movies because he has a very ethereal quality. Oh, he's great for Mel Gibson in The Passion of the Christ, which is just a torture porn snuff movie. So not a lot of acting involved in that, but he is still a revelation in that. But in every single thing else, including Malik's The Thin Red Line, he is absolutely Billy Bland. Zero emotion. He tries to convey everything with his eyes in this, as I say, otherworldly, ethereal quality, which is clearly what people want, and that's what director Howard McCain wanted. He said he had this spiritual quality to him. But for a man of action, a hero, it's rubbish. It doesn't work, and he has no personality, no charisma. Well, you think that, and then you see Sophia Myles, who is just wretched in a very nice red wig she's wearing, because she's blonde normally, but she is a ferociously naff actress with zero presence, bad acting. It's pure high school pantomime stuff. It's bloody awful. It's forever rolling eyes and like really pouting stuff and like emotive, you know, but really hitting nowhere near the degree, either going too far or not going far enough. She's not convincing in the least. So you meet her, and what's her, in the cliched thing, she's having a fight in the Hall of Herod with her dad. But it's training, because she's meant to be the wife of Wulfric, who we've met, Jack Houston. But she doesn't want him. You know, oh, can I choose the man I want to love and be beside the rest of my life? Wulfric's a good man. You need Wulfric, and you need to learn how to fight properly. And John Hurt does have a go at swinging the sword around. And he said, it's not like fencing, you know, which is just, which I know, I've done fencing. I've also done HEMA as well. So swinging a big sword around, it's actually damn good fun, but it's very, very dangerous. As it should be. That's how you got to learn how to defend yourself. And in this training, tutelage, play fight, he does cut her. So, you know, Freya, you need to learn. And this, of course, is when Wulfric comes in. We found Gunnar's village. It's ransacked. It's been ruined. They're all dead. Apart from Gunnar and his men, which is going to be trouble for us. But I found someone who could be guilty of it. Where is he? Well, we're going to interrogate him. Interrogate him then, says John Hurt. But of course, Kanan is given nothing away. Other than I'm hunting a monster. You know, I didn't do all that. By the way, you guys are all fucking doomed. He gets beaten up again. And then, like, they realise that we got to keep this guy alive. Why? Actually, I don't know. But I think Hrothgar says to Freya, right, look after him, keep him alive, make sure these bastards don't mistreat him. And Wulfric agrees and all that, like, so she goes in. But in the meantime, Kanan has deceived a couple of these guards a couple of times and fought them, but he still ended up back on his arse again and chained up to one of them big wooden pillars in his huts. But he manages to inveigle a hot tongue off this furnace and starts burning through the ropes at the back. And Freya comes in, and oh god, this is a wretched scene. His eyes are closed, but lots of close-ups of Jim Caviezel's perfect, almost porcelain face. And then you've got Freya, Sophia Myles, all doughy-eyed, wiping the sweat and a bit of blood from him, and like she's got food for him and water and all that, like. But she's clearly falling for him, and it's a really belaboured, horrible moment. Which you just go, oh, just cut through this. You're gonna fall in love with him. Okay, let's just take that as read. Don't show it developing. Let it fucking happen. But he will escape from there, because he knows there's shit going down. He will escape from there, and he'll actually punch her and knock her out as well. And then, is it night time now? It's night time, and we've got a couple of sentries on the ramparts, you know, of the stockade built around the village. I will say now, they built a real full-size village. They filmed at Halifax, Nova Scotia, and they discovered that they were like literally not far out of Halifax, and a lot of the extras are people from the local area. There's no forest. They went there thinking, woods, big ancient woods, trees like 10 foot in diameter, and they didn't find that. They found little spindly trees with not much foliage, a little tiny forest. Oh, there's a few lakes and stuff and mountains, but no forest. It's all been logged beforehand. So the only forest you'll see in this movie, well, apart from helicopter shots taken in Newfoundland, but the Nova Scotia stuff, where they filmed the majority of the movie, there's one little forested patch which they'll go through about 10 times, and they'll make it look good and they'll embellish it with CG, but it's basically threadbare. But you've got these guys. Oh, they built this village, as I say, and the village that you've seen Gunnar's village has been decimated. It wasn't very big, and yet he has quite an substantial bunch of men with him. And there's a lot of people fighting and people moving about Heret, but apart from the big mead hall, there's not exactly a great deal of huts around. Where's all the people coming from? It's not that big, and we're swooping, you know, crane shots and all that kind of thing, and you get to know the geography of the place. It really is like, what? All these people live here? You're joking, aren't you? But anyway, we've got these two guards on the ramparts, and yakety yak, don't talk back. Turn me back on you for a second. Hang on. Where's me mate gone? He's gone. And like, another guard gets taken out. There's something kind of glowing red moving around in there, but it could be bulky. What is it? You don't know. Well, we can guess. It's a monster, you know. So where's Ray Winston when you need him? I'll kill you, monster. And but Kanan knows where it is, and he goes after it. But of course, everyone else realizes he's escaped. We've got people who are dead over here. Right, he's to blame. Go after him. So various people start getting wasted in the in this battle, this pursuit through through Heret, and one of the big guards gets done in as well. And I believe in the only practical shot of the Morwen, which you only see a brief glimpse of in this sequence, they built a proper big animatronic which drags the body out of sight. For every other single image of the Morwen, it's all CG. This is a hugely CG movie. The blood is all CG. There's a guy, the Morwen is bioluminescent, and this is a year before Avatar, which of course made bioluminescence really cool, you know, with Pandora and all of that, and them blue skin Dances with Wolves wannabes. So it glows, but reds and fiery yellows and oranges, but mainly red. And it's a combination of the Cathoga from the Relic and the Monster of the Id from Forbidden Planet. And it works, you know, it is dragon-like, but it has a tail of whips, like the Balrog, and it will impale people with these things, and it will drag them through walls. It will dragon through walls. And one poor guy, "Give my blade, woman!" And in front of his wife and kids, he gets speared and dragged through a wall backwards, and it bends him over to get him through the hole in the wall. But and the gore hits the camera, hits the lens a few times, like 300 style, or it predates 300. But it really isn't very effective. The CG of the violence is not good. The few prosthetics are decent, but anyway, more on that later. Oh. I don't know if you heard that. There's something moving around behind me, which is a slight worry. If a great big bioluminescent tentacle suddenly comes through my chest, we'll know that I've gone too far in ripping the piss out of this movie. Cheers, Joel. No, I'm going to rip the piss out of it, but I actually, as I said before, it's a guilty pleasure and I do enjoy it, but for all the wrong reasons, probably. Anyway, this thing gets away. It's killed a few people, and, well, they're blaming Kanan again, but they drag him in, because he was going to climb up the ramparts, but he gets pulled back down by Wulfric, beaten again, and dragged into the big mead hall. Now, this is a good set, because they've got a tree there, a real tree, a proper big fuck-off tree. The only big tree they could find, and, what's his name again? Howard McCain had the idea. He studied, you know, ancient Vikings and Norse mythology, and one thing in particular, which is not even Norse, it's Anglo-Saxon, the tale of Beowulf and Grendel, which has been done a few times before and will be done a few times more. We have a new version coming out with Jim Henson's Productions doing all the puppetry for Grendel, who is voiced by Jeff Bridges. Wow, it's going to be great, that. The dude as a troll from the swamps. But you had, what's his name, Robert Zemeckis did his 3D animated version with Ray Winston as Beowulf, and of course you had the best version, The 13th Warrior, by director John McTiernan. His film then butchered by the original, it's based on a novel by Michael Crichton called Eaters of the Dead, which is here somewhere, it's right there behind me. And he then locked John McTiernan out the editing suite, edited the film down to a more manageable version. But even though it's got loads of bits hacked out of it, The 13th Warrior ranks as one of the best Viking movies ever made, and a brilliant retelling of the Beowulf and Grendel saga, and it's wonderful. I have reviewed it. I've also reviewed the Zemeckis animated Beowulf as well, and massive recommendations for both of them. Gerard Butler was also in a version with Stellan Skarsgård called Beowulf and Grendel. But this is a retelling, because Howard McCain was like massively smitten with the Beowulf and Grendel story. And this is his basic idea, which is a bit stupid, but I think with his tongue in his cheek, he says like, well, my idea is that the saga, the poem of Beowulf and Grendel, is actually based on a real thing, and the real thing is what I'm saying in my movie, spaceman, space monster. And then over the years, it got the tale got told differently, and became a troll and his mother in the fens, and like that's the evolution of the story itself. But I'm telling the real version here. Okay, Howard. Okay. But he was massively into it, so that's why this is a variation on that. Clearly inspired and influenced by it. So they drag Kanan in, and he says, look, we know it's something else out there now. What do we do? And Wulfric goes, we hunt it. We go out there and we hunt it down. And Kanan's like, you can't hunt this. It'll get you first. You can't hunt it. Well, then what do we do? Well, you've got to trap it. Okay, right. You're the master of all this shit then. What do we do? You're coming out with us tomorrow and we're going to go and hunt it and then we'll trap it like you say. So he's all tied up and he hasn't ridden a horse before. So they're going to go out and track this thing. And in that little tiny forest, of course. And he's trying to get on the horse and he's like, how am I going to fight it when my hand's like this? No, that's your fucking problem. And how the hell do I get on one of these things? And Sophia Miles, Freya, hasn't forgotten that he punched her out. And she comes over and she goes, fuck off, and slugs him, and knocks him on his arse as well. Sorry, like that. Oof. But he gets on his horse. I should say there's a kid, there's one of those annoying little brats who's an orphan. His parents were killed by raiders, but we look after our own in this world. Except if you're gunners, man, we don't look after any of them. And this kid, Eric, played by Bailey Morn, kind of hero worships this new guy. So what is it? You've got Shane, which of course Mad Max 2 with Emil Minty as the feral kid looking at Max as his hero, his surrogate father. It's that all over again. Only corny naff version. So there's kids, everywhere he goes, this kid's following him, trying to give him food and all that, and just staring at him. And he's got shaggy blonde hair and all this. Kanan, I should say, as opposed to everybody else, has got very short hair. Obviously, we've got them super CGI helmets on. You don't want to get your hair cut. I'd have real trouble in that. I'd be like, oh, it's cut again. So, you couldn't get one of his helmets over my head anyway. Look at the size of this. This is big. This is big hair today. So, anyway, they go out hunting. And you meet Boromir. No, not Sean Bean. No. Such a little thing. The very air you breathe is a poisonous fume. It is folly. This is a drunk Scotsman, played by, I think, a Canadian. And he's got I think he's got a headless goat or something, and that's his sack of ale. Have some of this, Outlander. Then it's spitting it out. But a rapport is built between these two, and it's the most cliche generic friendship ever. In the meantime, you've got Wulfric and him are also forming some sort of bond. When they go out, and the king's with them as well, and a horse's head, which apparently is a real horse's head, falls at the top of a tree, lands in front of them. So they know something's out there. By the way, I should say that when Kanan crash landed, because I'm talking about animal heads, and this one's meant to be real, so is another one. When they crash land, and it's the ship breaks apart and it forms a meteor shower, and it'll crash everywhere, flames and fish, but a big impact in the water, fish come flying out, which apparently were real fish as well, which did not survive the production. Oops. But when this thing comes down, you've got a stag or an elk or something, which they maintain that it was real. Bullshit, is that real? That's the most naff looking CG I've ever seen. It moves and a big silly googly eye. That's being offensive to elks and stags, of course, but no way is this thing real. I'm not buying that for a second. It's really shoddy CG. But this is meant to be a real horse's head. Think Godfather. But there it's, whoa, Jesus. So they find a cave. Now, not only were there no woods or trees in this area, they had to mock it all up. There were no caves. So they had to build a cave. So they go into this. They're tracking the beast. It's not a Morwen. They get attacked by a fucking great big bear. Cave bear. And the people get tossed around. And Kanan saves the day. Kanan puts the finishing blow into the beast. And they drag it out. Now, the real practical bear that they built is only small, and they all stand around it, but they've massively embellished it with CG. That's not too bad. It does look like a bloody big bear. And here's a little aside for you. Thornton Manor or Thornton Hall on the other side of the Wirral from where I'm sitting right now. Long ago, posted up something, well, they were featured in a magazine or something, that they had, you know, a 10-foot tall grizzly bear, stuffed, taxidermiized. And me and Mrs. Kilt-Man, we didn't have any kids at the time. I was in the Marines, but I wasn't on duty that weekend. I was only doing every other weekend anyway, and a bit more besides, but about that. And we went out there, and it was this time of year, it was winter time as well, and we were trudging across the fields. I went, oh, there's that's at Thornton Manor. So we walked down their elaborate path, and we knocked on the door. Cheeky fuckers that we were. And I was in combat gear as well, like, because I was still, this is all fucking for real. Come on, woman, keep up. You know, run uphill. And run faster downhill. And I'll carry you then. We knocked on the door, and this little tiny man, with weird glasses and a weird goatee beard and long, straggly black hair, but a little old fella. And he went, yes. I went, is the master of the house here? I am the master of the house. Oh shit, beginning to worry now. Said, sorry we'd knocked round, sorry to disturb you, but we've heard you've got like a 10-foot grizzly bear, and we're in the area. Oh, I'd love to see it, take a picture if that's possible. And he looked surprised, he went, oh, okay. Opened the door, let us in. And you know these people, these old people who, they spend their dwindling years smelling of piss and hoarding magazines and books and post and just boxes, and their house is like a warren. You've got to walk sideways through them because there's just stuff piled up. It's like that. He led us through this, what would have been like the big sort of opening hallway, like what we've got here. And took us down this little corridor, and there was a suit of armour there, and then across the way, he said, well, there's the bear. This bear, this 10-foot tall grizzly bear, there's the floor's just there, folks. It was about that big. So it was actually smaller than me, and I'm on a good day when it hasn't been raining, I'm 5'7". It was shorter than me, and it was doing that, but it was knackered. The claws had come off it. It was moth-eaten. It looked atrocious, and its nose was gone. I said, where's the nose gone? And what they'd done, the snout had come off, and they'd replaced it with like a bit of wood and painted it black. I was like, shit, this is what we came to see. But we had to, because he'd been kind enough to let us in to his home, his palatial / hovel. And so we stood there and went, yeah, that's impressive. Where did you get it from? And he came, well, the story he came up with, I don't even remember, because it wasn't very exciting at all. I think he bought it in Portobello Road or something like that, down in London. So, you want to take a picture? I was like, why would I want to take a picture of that shit? So, but we did take a couple of pictures, and then we quickly said our goodbyes and fucking ran off, laughing. Goldilocks had nothing to worry about in that house, mate. Nothing. Jesus. I'm not even sure what kind of bear it was. A fake bear. It was just rubbish. Anyway, this bear, in the film, they make it much bigger, and it's quite a convincing effect for CG when they move around it. But John Hurt gives a line which is, well, it's a bit too OTT. Outlander, he says, like. And Caviezel, his hands are still bound, but he still picked up the killing sword. And John Hurt swings his sword down and cuts the bonds. Watch that scene. Not only does John Hurt overplay the line, he's just gone, Outlander, you've earned your freedom and your life. But it's Outlander! Why give him a fucking heart attack when you're going to set him free? But bringing that massive broadsword down on a tiny little bit of rope, you'd have, not only would you maybe not cut the rope, but you'd have broken both his hands and his wrists completely, probably fractured his entire forearms. You would not have cut him loose. I like details like this. They're not hard to get right, you know what I mean? Anyway, so they give him his freedom, and they've killed a bear, but it's not the Morwen, it's not the creature. But they still go back. They're now all friends now. They go back to the mead hall. And again, all them thousands of fucking people who live there have all converged. Where the hell do you live outside of it? It's just... Anyway, they're all there. And they're all drinking. And that little lad makes an appearance. That's where you learn his backstory. His name's Eric, says John Hurt. His name's Eric. His parents were killed by raiders. But we look after our own here. So he's one of us now. And then suddenly you get this fucking game that they play. Oh my God. Now this is inspired by the Kirk Douglas movie, The Vikings, a classic. Kirk Douglas and Tony Curtis and Ernest Borgnine, fantastic movie. When Kirk Douglas, they come back, yeah, you know the bit I mean. Kirk Douglas, quite an athlete himself, not quite in the Burt Lancaster realm, but still pretty nifty. Walks around all the oars on the Viking longship, walks around all these oars, and it's a staggering film, a staggering moment. Of course, he will also climb a castle wall where he throw fighting axes, and he runs up and climbs up those as well. Like in this, Howard McCain's take on it. They bring all the shields off the wall. Oh, hey, you'll love this. It's the shield dance. Shield walk and run, and they put them over their heads like that, and Wulfric gets up and he walks around them all. This is a long scene, folks, and you're just like, really? And he's doing all this precariously bouncing from one shield to the other, and then he selects an opponent. Of course, who's it going to be? New boy, Outlander, Kanan. You. So Kanan's like, what the fuck? Gets up. I should say Jim Caviezel's expression in this movie, although his mouth never seems to move, his eyes, as I say, convey so much, but they seem to be conveying nothing but fucking bewilderment and confusion eternally throughout this movie. He gets up there and he begins to do it, and the two of them are going round like that, and everyone's laughing and clapping and drinking mead, and oh, it's all great fun and parties, and like, wow, he's good, he can do it as well. Come on, Outlander. Come on, Kanan. They're doing all this, and they're getting faster and faster running around. And then, like, Wulfric goes like, well, okay, you're good, but can you do this? And he runs and does a fucking somersault through the air and lands on a shield. Ta-da! Oh, fuck off. Just fuck off. So, of course, what does Kanan go and do? Right, okay. Boromir, you up for this? That's his drunken mate, and Boromir's like, puts the shield down a minute, grabs his Viking drinking horn. Hang on a second. Into the meat hole there and picked up mine. There's mine, look at that. Now, I'm not going to pour this in there because you can't put these down. Oh, they can't. On your belt, sometimes, because you've got a little belt loop there. I got a little attachment on one of my medieval belts where I could attach this and I'd be in the pub with it, and I used to put whiskey in it as well. Like 2 large whiskies, 2 more large whiskies, and I'd be fucking filling this with whiskey. Your Viking mead's one thing, but fucking full of whiskey. Jesus Christ. So Boromir goes, like that. Has a swig, throws it to one side, and reluctantly raises the shield again. And so Kanan does his run, and it looks awful. It's awful. Cut to a shot of someone flipping in midair, lands on Boromir's shield, and they're all like, wow. And Freya's like, oh, fuck off, you know. Oh, Outlander, well done. But the shield cracks, and they're like, oh, and he's teetering, and they fall, they take a tumble to the floor, and everyone, Freya's like, oh God, he should have hit her harder. And he loses. How does he lose? It's not his fault the fucking shield broke. You know, he did the job. Anyway, Wulfric comes over, stands above him, and then puts the hand down. Brotherly clasp of hands. You're all right, Outlander. You're one of us now. Let me get this right. You're one of us now. You arrived here because he's actually said to them, you know, how do you know about this thing? He goes, because I brought it here. Also, our people are dead because of something that you brought. You are here, and because of you, our men are dead. And Gunnar wants to kill us. Well, fuck you. But anyway, so he goes outside, and in one of many, many, many little visual homages to the films that Howard McCain loves, you get a meteor in the sky, which he said it's Jaws. It's the meteor that you see in Jaws above the Orca in the night they spend on the boat. Other homages are lots of references to Lawrence of Arabia, lots of scene transitions, the stuff to War of the Worlds and Dragon Slayer, and stuff to Apocalypse Now as well, and The Searchers, probably many, many others as well. You couldn't resist it. But to be honest, they're not, apart from that shooting star, the rest, they're not overtly obvious. He knows what they're there for, but he has to tell you that though in the making of, so you wouldn't have guessed it any other way. And I don't mind that, but he's out there by the well, and I think Freya comes out, and they have a bit of a chit chat. They're getting friendlier and friendlier. And don't forget, she's meant to be betrothed to Wulfric. But remember, I mentioned Gunnar and the other village, and Ron Perlman. Oh well, suddenly an attack is made upon the village of Heret, and guards are taken out with arrows, and then you hear, oh! And then suddenly about 1,000 people charge out of the mead hall, all armed to the teeth with battle axes and fucking hatchets and swords and knives and everything, bows and arrows. And they get on the battlements, and yeah, an attack is brought on by Ron Perlman and as Gunnar with two massive Mjolnirs, and they get through the gates and he's fucking beating people, and lots of CG blood. One poor guy, he's on his knees, and he just brings the two hammers together. And Ron Perlman, tattooed across the face, baldly shaven headed, and big Viking beard. It's the part he's meant to play. He's done it 1,000 times before. He'll do it loads more as well. He did it, of course, in the Jason Momoa Conan remake, which we don't talk about in this. We don't talk about in this house. Only softies south of Cimmeria talk about it. Cheers, Joel. But they get driven out. Big fight, lots of action, lots of CG blood going everywhere. But they get driven out, and in possibly the greatest moment in this movie, they go right down the path again outside the fortress stockade of Heret. His survivors running. There's a little bridge there. They run across the bridge, and like Ron Perlman's Gunnar stands there and turns around and hails. You know, he walks up to the camera as well, like, and he says, you know, why did you destroy my village? Why did you took my wife and my boy? You even took their bodies. I don't even have the bodies. If it takes me 1,000 years, I'm gonna come back and carve your heart out of your rotten chest. You know, but he says it with such conviction that you're like, shit, someone here is taking their role seriously. And listen, Mr. Caviezel, he's putting character in it. He's only said a couple of lines, and he's already put more acting and character into that than you've done all in your career. And then they sort of retreat off. Now, this gets a bit silly. They're all like patching up their wounds and all that. And again, there's a bit more between Freya and Kanan. Again, she's tending to his wounds and all this, like. And that little lad, he's around again. He's popping up everywhere, like a little fucking moppet, you know. But you go out to Gunnar and his men in the woods, and they go, well, we lost. You know, why did we give in so easily? They beat us this time, but we'll get them next time. But we're gonna send some men round that way and send some men round this way, and then we'll go through the front. But his men start getting picked off while he's giving his rather naff organisational plans, and something red and whippy is. People are getting flung up into the trees, CG blood goes everywhere. There's one guy's having a piss in a little lake, and he looks down, and like, well, I don't know what he's been drinking, but it's turning the water fucking bright red. And he's like, oh, and then, oh, he's in the water, screams everywhere. The people in Havoc can hear the screaming, and they're going, what is that? That's Gunnar's men. Gunnar and his men have just been saying, like, we'll be back. It takes us 1,000 years. I'll come back and carve the heart out of your rotten chest. You know, and like vowing revenge and all that. And next thing you know, they're all fucking legging it back. Open the gates! Open the gates! Don't shoot! Because the arrows are on the battlements. And Wulfric's going, archers! Not a term that the Vikings would have used. Archers. and they're running. And they're getting fucking quilled with arrows. And getting taken down. But you've got Ron Perlman who's like, open the gates, we're friends! After just pledging lifelong, eternal hatred for them. Open the gates, we're on your side. And they're like, what the fuck? But they can see something in the distance glowing and showing little explosions. Little red arc lights they are, which were genuinely real. So we let him in. Well, Wulfric's going to take down Gunnar. But Kanan fucking nudges him to one side, leaps down, opens the gate for him, lets them all in. So yeah, right, now you've got a bit more of a fighting force. Well, not for long. Yeah, there's a fucking thing out there. We didn't destroy your people. We didn't do your village. It's a Morwen. I'm like, what the hell is a Morwen? Well, you will find out what a Morwen is. Kanan will speak to Freya and tell her about he had a family on a planet. His family are dead. His wife and his son are dead. Now he's a spaceman. He was a member of whatever their race is called. He's a spaceman and a bit of a pilot, a soldier, whatever. But they found a planet which they wanted for themselves. But that planet was a primordial paradise, which the Morwen lived on. The Morwen, these dragon-like creatures, so living in peace and harmony with the rest of the universe. But Kanan's people in spaceships which looked like Mjolnir. That was on purpose. To look like Mjolnir, right? And they carpet bomb the planet. And you see all these Morwen getting wiped out. Then in a few other epic shots, you see them great big massive bulldozers in a reference to Terminator 2. They're shoveling bodies of these Morwen into deep trenches. They're setting them all on fire. And then they terraform the place so it's for them. Now we've already learned they've seeded other planets elsewhere. Why they didn't go to one of them when they've already known about these planets? They go to this one full of monsters. Why would you do that? Doesn't make any sense. And they build up these prefabricated huts. Anyway, Kanan said in this flashback, he's telling Freya all about it. So look, we killed one of the Morwen, and I feel bad about it. And you do now feel sympathy for the monster, which is only right. And this is a clever move on the part of the movie itself. It does make you shit. You wipe them all out, and you do feel empathy for them. But he said, well, I went off on another mission. I wasn't going to be gone for long, but we thought we killed one of the Morwen, but we hadn't. There was one left. So of course, you had a flashback earlier of him going back to his farmstead. A bit like when he saw the Gunnar's village at the start. Big CG background of flames everywhere and a door frame, and he opens the door and there's the bodies of his wife and his son. Curiously unmutilated, but anyway. So that, the woman got revenge on me, but it's my fault. And then, well, I'm not sure what really happens then. Why did he then blast off? And why does he crash? Someone out there can tell me. I've seen the film a few times and I still don't know. Why does he crash land at the start? I don't even know why that happens. Is it the Morwen that does it? How does the Morwen get on board? How does any of this happen? If you get the Blu-ray of it, there is a multitude of deleted scenes, which I have seen back in the day when I first reviewed this movie for AV Forums on its Blu-ray release. And I reviewed two versions. The Canadian version, which was done ridiculously at 1.78 to 1 aspect ratio, which it's not, it's 2.35. And they squashed it all and gave too much headroom. They ruined the presentation of the movie completely. I then got a UK version, which was presented correctly. But there's a lot of deleted scenes, and they probably go somewhere to explaining how this all came about, but I don't remember now. And really, for the sake of this, who fucking cares? He crashes, and everything that's happened has happened, and now he's explained, well, that's a fucking moron. I brought it with us. It wants revenge, and I wiped out the entire species except for this one. So now it's a vendetta. A bit like Orca Killer Whale, I suppose you could say. But now he works out, look, we need to have a trap. I said to you, we can't hunt the thing down. We've got to lure it in and trap it. It knows we're all in here, and we're all the victims, we're its prey. So what we need, we dig a trench, and it's a fucking vast trench. It's all CG, by the way. They couldn't dig down. It was just complete slurry and mud. They couldn't dig through it. So when you see these guys with their little shovels digging, and they've got Boromir down there, well, we've dug down far enough. What do we do now? And Kanan's another 4 feet. He's like, oh, fucking hell. And then what they do, they've got these massive barrels, because Kanan says, what do you use to light the candles and the forge and everything, blah, blah, blah. Anything with fire. How do you like that fire? What's keeping it going? Well, we've got oil. Where's the oil? In these great big drums, great big barrels. And so they wheel them up, and they've dug this trench right inside the main gates. This big trench, and they've built another sort of stockade around it. So it's walled in by tree trunks, and they've got ramparts. Very busy Vikings. And it's deep trenched, and they fill it with all the oil, this flammable oil. And then they go on like, well, how's it? It's going to see all that, isn't it? You know. And he goes, no, there's one thing else. And then we cut to, oh, this is a corny shot as well. This entire sequence is corny as fuck. It's the montage of them digging, building, doing stuff. Pause for a moment to get a bit line of dialogue, and then here we go again. It's fucking shit. It's Predator. It's building a trap from Predator, but that's brilliant. So you really believe all this Boy Scout bullshit's going to work? You can see all that tripwires. Maybe you can't see this. Instead of complaining, maybe you should help. Fucking great. Well, that's great in Predator. That's not so good here. But Eric and all the women are carrying all the shields he danced on and raced around before, and they float them on the top and put some sludge to make it look like it's solid ground, presumably. And then that night they're all there, right? You've got Gunnar and his men are there as well, his surviving men. Not much left of them now. And like, well, who's going to go out and lure it in? So Kanan and Wulfric go out together. And like, they get to the edge of the bridge, and it's quite a good shot actually, and I forget which one it is. One of them hails their flaming torch. It's a hell of a shot. Right through the air, right across the bridge to the other side, and it hits. There it is. It's been in the shadows. It hasn't lit itself up. And suddenly, you've got this Forbidden Planet style monster from the Id crossed with a dragon, the Cathoga. It lights up, and it begins to run across the bridge to them. But you've got, this is the 7th century, remember, and Christianity has sought its little tendrils into society and all across the pagan wastelands of Europe. And you've got a Christian priest there, and you've already met him a couple of times, and he's on his own. He hasn't got much in the way of a flock at all. He's just him, you know. And in a scene exceptionally reminiscent of George Pal's War of the Worlds, and also Dragon Slayer, where a priest will go towards, in War of the Worlds, the Martians, in Dragon Slayer, well, towards Vermithrax pejorative, the dragon. And either way, they get fucking toasted. Well, in this, Howard McCain goes a little step further, and because he comes out, he's going like, back, Lucifer, back! I command you, back! The power of Christ compels you, go back, Lucifer! And like one of its spindly little Balrog whip tail things goes between his legs and goes whoop, and hoists him in the air. What through? It's gone up his fucking ring piece. his godly orifice. Whoop! And he's like writhing in the air like that. And then suddenly, big explosion and a shower of CG gore. Boof! Wulfric, we call him Wulfgar then. Wulfric and Kanan run, and you get the slow motion run as this thing's coming down behind them. Would have caught them in seconds, but they get in, and they manage to just duck either. Well, actually no, they don't manage to duck either way. Fucking what's his face? Wulfric goes into the trap as well, and the beast goes in, plunges down. Wulfric, grab my hand. So the bookend of like Wulfric symbolically when he falls for the shields to Kanan, grab my hand, we're friends now. You get the reversal of that. Wulfric, grab my hand, and he pulls him out. Archers, fire! Flaming arrows, flambe, very relic Cathoga style. And they're all like, yes, it's a fucking big explosion as well. And they really blew this thing up. And you've got stuntmen flying off the top ramparts who are meant to be the archers. Fucking big explosion. Would have killed almost everybody with all flying, splintering wood everywhere. But they've already had, just prior to this, or while it's going on, there's a guy at the back who hears a noise sloshing about in the well. Looks over into the well. He's fucking gone. He had a scream somewhere. And all the kids and the women that are in the mead hall with this tree, which is, the mead hall's built around this tree. Don't know if I explained that before. I was talking about the trees and the one real tree that they've got, which is fucking big. The mead hall's built around it. And they kept moving this tree all the fucking place, like, apparently. And, but he said, like, Howard McCain said, like, well, they believe in nature and, you know, the environment. So this tree's big and healthy. We'll build our home, our mead hall around that tree. Historically speaking, yeah, that actually they did do that in certain. It wasn't massively a widely held belief, but there's evidence of that. Halls being built around these trees, which become sacred things, like. And but they're all in there, and like I think Eric turns around and like there's another one, another Morwen is coming down the wall behind them, and they're like they all come stampeding out. John Hurt runs in there to try and do battle, try to save his daughter, but John Hurt will meet his demise at the whips and tails and snarly bits, mandibles of the Morwen. I think Freya gets injured again. I'm not too sure now, but chaos ensues. So clearly there isn't just one Morwen. Now we've had a scene earlier on of one of Gunnar's men who wakes up in a cave and he's surrounded by dead bodies. And as he slips down, he's upside down. He sees the Morwen there, and in a very, very confusing, and you wouldn't know what's happening until afterwards, the Morwen is giving birth through its back, like the Manitou. Another Tony Curtis movie, actually, like the Vikings with Kirk Douglas. The Manitou, where an Indian witch doctor is born at the back, out of someone's spine. It gives birth to this little offspring. So now there's two of them. But you've seen it, but you didn't know what was happening. You didn't. Now you can piece it together. But the big mummy one, it ain't dead, and it comes fucking flying out. It's all ablaze. Chaos ensues. More deaths, including Gunnar. So you've been waiting for Ron Perlman, and he's only had 2 scenes really, and this one is the end of him, and there's 2 hammers, runs up to it, and it's running towards him, and he always got a sword, or whatever he's got. He puts a blow on the Morwen, but then he stands there, and his head gets whipped off in pure CG. His head in cascades, and his body hits the floor, and this is a prosthetic, pumping fake gore, God, all over the place, which Howard McCain said, that's the shot that got us the R rating that we wanted. Because although people are getting wasted left, right and centre, and there's lots of CG blood, it's not gory. It just isn't that gory at all until that shot. But now you're like, oh shit, that's Ron Perlman gone. Bloody hell. Yeah, I thought he was going to be the main man. You know, Ron Perlman, Hellboy. Oh God, yeah. Well, bye-bye, Ron. And such a shame as well. And then I think Morwen and baby Morwen fuck off. They've done enough damage. Chaos everywhere, bodies everywhere, people are grieving and all that. Like, you said it would work, and now the king's dead, and fucking this and fucking that, and like, well, it came from down there in the well. Let's go down there. And like, so Kanan again comes up with this fucking plan to go down there, hunt this thing. He said previously you don't hunt them, but they're going to end up doing that now. And they will. Oh, hang on a second. Hang on. There's a very crucial bit here. He says, in your forge, what kind of metals do you use? I was like, well, just the metal that we've got here. And he goes, right, okay, come with me. My ship is out there in that lake. And they row out there, and it sank. It's down there. So Jim Caviezel, well, someone playing Jim Caviezel dives down into the wreck of his ship. And he pulls some bits of wreckage, because he reckons like their space steel is much harder than anything they've got on air. So he's going to forge that into a big sword. What I will say about these underwater sequences, you watch them. Is that Jim Caviezel? You see the guy in full close-up, right, and his hair's all gone all chufty in the water, and his face is all puffed out, a bit like mine. Mine's like that anyway. But it looks nothing like Jim Caviezel, and it's massive right close-up right in your face. But if that's him, water doesn't transform someone that much, surely to God. Anyway. In the meantime, the Mormons there, and the Mormon takes out the boat, but they manage to get back safely. There's a bit of wreckage, and I think maybe someone dies there, but I can't quite remember. But they've got this big shard of metal. So he says to like, whoever, this sweaty fucking Viking, make me a sword out of that. Well, okay. And, montage again. Clang, clang. Fire and ice, bang, bang. And he makes, wow, fucking hell, he makes this fantastic, bloody, really decorative and beautifully sculpted sword. Really majestically shaped. And it's fucking big. Oh, God. It looks like the Atlantean sword of Conan, but on super space steroids. We'll use this. And then they go down into this. Oh, hang on a minute. Freya's been kidnapped. I forgot about that as well. It's took Freya. I mean, they assume she's dead, but Freya wakes up in that slurry pit in the cave, the subterranean warren where the Morwen live, on a huge pile of cadavers, all prosthetic bodies, all ripped up and that, like a big spider crawls out of someone's mouth at one stage, and like a Bush Tucker trial, and I'm a celebrity, get me out of here. Or Halloween 3 for that matter. And in a ludicrous sequence, again, she's on this pile of bodies, but she can't seem to move. She's not pinned down by anything. But you watch, she's writhing and writhing and writhing and writhing some more, and then a bit more writhing as well. And what you do now? Howard, what do I do next? You writhe some more. Writhe. And she doesn't get anywhere. I'm not sure why she's stuck there. Some really spiritual force has pinned her down. I don't fucking get it. It goes on for ages too. Our heroes now descend down the well and swim up, and they get into the inky black water. And come on, I wouldn't fucking do it, mate. And I've swum in the dock. I've swum in some very strange places and gone very deep as well, and done little jobs. And I've never liked it. Never liked it. Not by choice would I go in that fucking water. I'm not down a well, put it that way. But they come up, and they're in this cavernous subterranean maze, and like they will, one by one, they get picked off. The team that goes in there, and just trying to work out. Oh, the Morwen is approaching Freya, and it's coming up all close. It's all drooling and all this, and then it hears them, the approaching enemy. So it fucks off. Whoa! I'm gonna take you down. And I think now she gets pinned down by a big fat corpse or something. But once again, you're like, oh God, will you just get up from this mess of bodies? You're fucking pissing me off. Now, battles, fights, people getting wasted. Boromir will get chomped and have a final, you'll be lying there. I'm not going to go through all the fucking motions because it's not that exciting either. But it goes on for quite some time. This big protracted finale. Boromir bites the big one, like he does in Lord of the Rings as well. And and here's a few final parting words. Give us a swig of that. Give us that fucking thing. I don't know. Maybe he doesn't. Maybe he doesn't. Can't remember. And he's dead. Wulfric and they will meet up with Freya. Freya blinds. If I remember rightly, Freya blinds the young one, and then they manage to kill the young one. Fucking hack with the big. I think it's about to get it, even though it's blind. It's still sniffing it out, and then its head comes off. Lots of predator-style blood everywhere. But the big one's still there. So now you've got Freya, you've got Wulfric, and you've got our man Kanan. And they have a massive battle with this fucker. And they're getting thrown around, and they end up outside a waterfall. And again, now think another movie, Indiana Jones and Temple of Doom. They're there right on the promontory, fucking vast drop down, water cascading, and this thing is coming through the water behind them. Big battle. Wulfric ends up in its jaws, getting thrown around, and then held. I think they've put a sword in the wall so that Freya can try to climb around, and she's doing like a bit of a Tom Cruise and Cliffhanger, Mission Impossible 2 style, going from like sword to sword, and then she comes back again because Kanan's got to fight. Kanan does that thing. He's got his sword, fastened on his back, and I've discussed this many times. Unless you've got a scabbard which is slipped down the side, there's no way you can draw a sword that's that fucking long from your back. Your arm will not do it. It won't come out. You can't get it out of its tethering. But it's always in movies. You see it all the time. So it's good. They go, and then the next cut, it's like it's out. Because you can't fucking do it in reality. Yes, you can drop to one knee and grab the scabbard and pull. You can do it that way, but they don't do it. It's just like bullshit. Fight, and he's getting flung around and battered as well. And then I think she manages to come back and she puts a blade into it, and he puts a blade into it, and then the fucking thing falls over the edge of the cliff. And Kanan's there, and it's got hold of him like that, and it's trying to climb up again. I feel really sorry for it. And he brings down his big mighty sword again, and severs its arm, and the poor bastard fucking tumbles and pinwheels and somersaults down to its watery death. You set it on fire once, it didn't die. How do you know it's going to die down there? The bloody thing can swim, remember? But anyway, it's now lost an arm, and it's got multiple injuries, so it's dead. Wulfric has his final words. You're king now. Stay, you're one of us, Outlander. And it's all very sad. And they did that thing. They shut his eyes. They did that thing. They shut their eyes and all that. And I think either him or Boromir has a really bad sort of death moment. They go. It's really protracted. And then they leave his body on the promontory by the waterfall, right? And they climb up the sheer rock face to get onto the top of the mountain. And once they're up there, they see the longships, because all the survivors of Heret should have said this. They're like, well, this fucking place is ruined. We can't compete with the Morven. You brought it here. No one's blaming him. Everyone's dead because of you. You lost our king. Fucking hell. And but they're sailing off. So they managed to shout and wave, Eric! And little Eric's there, Eric's now cut his hair. He's cut his shaggy blonde hair to look a bit more like Jim Caviezel. And in the one moment that Jim Caviezel's face cracks a smile, the one moment is when he's cut his hair and he comes up, and Caviezel's like that. It's during the trap building montage, and he's going looks at his hair like that, and just grabs a little tiny tuft of his hair, and then goes, winks, and then breaks into a smile. I can't do it because I can't. I'm smiling now. I can't smile on order. I simply can't do it. It comes like a big shit-eating grin. Looks ridiculously wrong. But Caviezel smiles during this moment, and it's just the only time he makes an expression, and he still don't buy it at all. Anyway, so Eric's there, and all this right. He goes, you to Freya, go down to them. You're leaving us. You're going, aren't you? Oh, I've got something to do. Remember, he put that tracking beacon on, so he knows his own people are coming for him. So he goes back to that promontory where he first met him. Not a real promontory, they built that. Again, this place they went to fucking Nova Scotia for its vast open wilderness and found no trees, no caves, no promontories. I had to build all their own. It's such a fake promontory that he's on, and he's got this triangular fucking thing. And Freya's followed him, and she's watching all this. He's dived into the water and gone, again, is it Caviezel or is it not? Who the hell is that? That's not Caviezel's face. But they linger on it in close-ups. He's dived back down to the ship, and we see that he's got his wife's coffin. And for someone who's been killed by a Morwen, she's absolutely gorgeous. She hasn't aged or decomposed. And she's in this sort of glass and metal sarcophagus, and he lets that sink down to the depths of the lake. Says his goodbyes, and then comes up the top. Now, for someone who's been killed by a Morwen, shouldn't there be rips and scars and stuff? But she looks fucking radiant and gorgeous, and she's been dead for ages. He comes back up, and suddenly you can see it's night time, and you can see some of the stars are getting blacked out, and there's one of their ships is coming back. It's coming down. It's following the homing beacon, and Freya's watching this and looking up and seeing it. Of course, she thinks he's from the gods. Now, I like this, to be honest. She thinks he's come from the sky. He's going back to his people, and they're coming to get him. He's a god as well. But at the last minute, he changes his mind. Brings out that fucking sword again. Like that. Again, how he does that. And just goes, wham! Blows up the air, this machinery and this tracking beacon. And then this ship just goes, right, okay, made a mistake. Goes back into the heavens and goes, as if it's come all this way, tracking that. And then suddenly, we've lost the beacon. But their instrumentation would go like, well, it's right there. See that big flash down there? That's where it come from. So he must be there. Let's land anyway. You've come all this fucking way. It's just, you know, what? Oh, you just gave up that. You come all that fucking thousands of light years and you just gave up. Anyway, so he now stays and he becomes king. Remember I said about Wulfric's body was on the waterfall promontory, and they couldn't have carried him up. Well, suddenly they got him back and they put him on one of those Viking pyre ships. How did he get him? How the hell did he get him? To get into that cave, you had to go down the well to do it, you know. Okay, you go back up the mountain again, but that means you've got to climb back down the cliff face to go and get his body. But somehow they've done it. Or did they boot it over the edge? You just didn't see him do it. Did he boot body over the edge and it tumbled into the water, and then they retrieved it? If they were going to do that, you think about they'd retrieve the Morwen's body to make sure that it's dead as well. Again, maybe these are the deleted scenes. I can't remember. I think not, somehow. And of course, who's the guy that fires the arrow, you know, the flaming arrow to set fire to the Viking boat to send him off to Valhalla? Yeah, Canaan, the guy that brought all this wrath and damage there and killed off all. He managed to kill off the king and then the next in line. So he's now king. Oh, yeah. Well, job's a good one for you, mate. Landed on your feet there, didn't you? And it's the most ridiculous shot ever. It just goes on for fucking miles. So not only is he a master with fucking swords and, you know, fisticuffs now, he's also an expert bloody archer as well. Fuck off. And sets fire to that and everyone's happy. Jesus Christ. Folks, this is great fun. And you can tell that by the fact that even by remorselessly taking the piss out of it, I've actually enjoyed discussing it because it is colourful. The production values are pretty damn good. The costumes, the weaponry and all the accoutrements of a Viking living environment are suitably detailed and authentic by the looks of things. It's interesting to look at. The cast, well, barring the likes of John Hurt and even the guy that plays Boromir, Cliff Saunders and Ron Perlman, barring them, the rest is shite. But even their being utter crap doesn't derail the film because you can just laugh at them, and you you're still drawn along this story, and it's a tale as old as time. Hero from a strange land comes in, meets new people, breaks down hostilities, fights for them, and becomes their hero against overwhelming odds. Oh my god, it's every fucking action movie that we love. Just all over it again. And also, it's Vikings fighting a monster. Yes! But a space monster. And the monster is great. The monster is created by a fellow called Patrick Tatopoulos, who did Pitch Black and I Am Legend and I, Robot and many other things. Might have done Tremors as well, can't quite remember now. And his design for it is really good. I mean, you do see it a fair bit once it's lit up. And it's bioluminescence. As I said before, or may have done, it can lure victims in, its prey in, by looking attractive with lights, little light displays. And then to intimidate, it just goes, and it's all lit up like a barrel roll. And with that sound effect as well. Yeah, it's a good creature. I like creatures, I like monsters, and this is. And the great thing about this movie is that you do have sympathy for it as well, because its world got wiped out by Canaan and his fucking cronies. So, you know, why are we siding with him? He committed genocide. A twat. You know, he deserves what he got. He deserved everything he got in Passion of the Christ as well. But he is a terrible, appalling actor. And Sophia Myles, oh God, well, they deserve each other. The music is by a fellow called Jeff Zanelli. You've been hearing it throughout the this review. This is the score, and the score is generic, and yet I quite like it. The main themes are, they do get in your head. They are earworms, but you've heard them all before. Jeff Zanelli worked a lot with Hans Zimmer, and a hell of a lot, and with John Powell, again, Hans Zimmer acolyte. And although he's done a few scores before and since, most of what he does additional music to movies, or he's worked with Hans Zimmer or with John Powell or other composers. So he's been a collaborator. So he's not known for his own stuff, but God, Howard McCain had heard his stuff. No, I like your stuff. Plus, almost certainly, you're a Hans Zimmer minion, so I know what I'm going to get, and also you'd be quite cheap. And what happened is he composed and organised the scoring sessions from his home in Santa Monica, whilst the orchestra was in Bratislava. What's it called? Bratislavia. Bratislavia. It is. I wrote it down. It didn't sound right at all then, coming from my fat lips. Yeah, so he did it transatlantic style as well. So, but the score it's Pirates of the Caribbean mixed with every sort of epic sword and sandal movie which you've had since the 90s onwards. And so it's just this listen, slow dirge-filled anthems, but I don't mind it. So anyway, the year before this, I think you had the film Pathfinder with Carl Urban and Clancy Brown, Native Americans fighting Vikings. And if ever a film, like on paper, Outlander sounds fucking amazing. On paper, Pathfinder sounded fucking amazing. Native Americans fighting big ass nasty fucking Vikings. But Pathfinder, I know it's got its fans, but wow, are you misguided. That is a painfully shit movie. So badly edited, you've got no idea what's happening throughout any action scene at all. And the shield thing with the sledge, what the hell? So you got an Indiana Jones moment, like you do in this, I suppose. But what the fuck? It's an appalling film. A great setup, great production values, but really badly filmed and so naffily directed that it's a ruinous, pathetic waste of time. That is not this movie. But this movie, clearly, Pathfinder must have been a Pathfinder for this getting made the following year. And then, of course, you got Avatar, bioluminescence, alien planets, and sort of humans committing genocide, or humanoids committing genocide. It's humans in the case of Avatar. But so a lot of themes are concurrent, you know, because Canaan's race were committing genocide and all that. So yeah, hint of Starship Troopers as well, perhaps, to it. it does bring in a lot of movies. I think I wrote Beowulf, obviously Predator, Dragon Slayer, Indiana Jones, Temple of Doom, The Relic, Forbidden Planet, The Id Monster, War of the Worlds. It's got everything thrown into the mix. So a lot of fun can be had, especially with a few of these, or better still with whiskey. But with a few of you around, you'll have a ball. You will take the piss. It's light. It's instantly forgettable. But it's something that I have returned to over the years, and always been like, oh jeez, why have I put this on? But then you kind of, no, I'm going to leave it on, even though it's so shit. I'm going to leave it on. Oh, do you know what? I enjoyed that bit, and actually, he's quite good fun, and you get round it. Right, folks, I've waffled on long enough about this. It is stupid, but it's out there. Canaan and the Morwen. There's infinitely better versions of Beowulf and Grendel out there, infinitely better. But this is suitably removed. You know it. That's what it's based upon. You know that, but it does do everything else differently. Okay, you do go underwater, under the fells, and into a subterranean warren. You do all that, I suppose, and you have the attacks on Heret and the meat hall. You've got all that going on, and it is a monster when all said and done. And there is offspring. There's a mother and an offspring, but it's kind of done in reverse. You've been fighting the mother first of all, and then you're fighting the offspring, and then you're fighting the mother again. But it's all there. Howard McCain didn't go on to do anything else. He did a lot of short movies, I think, and maybe a few sequels to things. But I did look at his resume, and literally nothing I can remember, and nothing that was noteworthy to put down. But you know, his heart's in the right place. Passionate, yeah, and sure he had a lot of fun making this movie. If you listen to his commentary, he admits a lot of things which he should have. You know, I wish I hadn't done it that way. I wish I put the camera somewhere else. Oh, that's my fault. That. Oh, I didn't have the time to film this, so I gave it to the second unit. But it came out better than I could have done it. I like his honesty and his passion. Anyone who's passionate about something, unless it's paedophilia, then you know, I'm all for you. You know, but sometimes ambitions are far greater than your abilities, and it's a purely generically told story with a really painfully bland leading man and a really cack-handed and just so wretchedly awful leading lady. It just, oh god. Cheers, y'all. Right, my stomach's rumbling because I haven't eaten, so I'm out of here. Folks, I have been and always shall be Kilt-Man. Please, in the meantime, in this ever learn Old Norse in 3 seconds flat and burn your eyeball out in between time. Please keep it Celtic, and I'm going to see you all for the shield dance near you soon. Yay!